بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين، صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، يا غريب مظلوم كربلاء، ما خاب من تمسك بكم، وأمنا من لجأ إليكم، يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها، وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة، إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. A louder salawat for the love of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum as-salam. A third salawat for the love of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein with your loudest voices. If we analyze the du'as of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum as-salam, we look at all the du'as of the Ahl al-Bayt, which there are thousands of du'as, hundreds of du'as. We see that the du'as of the Ahl al-Bayt, they bring a solution to all of our problems. They point out to every single problem and they ask Allah for that problem, for a solution for that problem. There are hundreds of du'as, thousands of du'as that ask for everything from rizq to afterlife, to a good life, to successful life, to the grave, the leaving the grave. Many things are mentioned in the du'as of the Ahl al-Bayt, but one thing is not mentioned. We don't find in the du'a of the Ahl al-Bayt a statement that says, "Oh Allah, let the ones who are not married get married." Even though this is a big problem, even though this is an issue that is major today, and many people have to deal with this problem, or it's something that they have to deal with, it's not necessarily a problem, but it's something that they have to deal with, and it's on the minds of many people, but we don't find that in the du'as. Why? Why do we not find this in the du'as? The reason is that if we follow the Quranic guidelines, marriage should not be a problem. If we follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, marriage would not be a problem. And we would not have to come and ask Allah for a solution, because Allah has already given us a solution. And Allah has already shown us the true way and the ideal marriage. Marriage was not a problem during the time of Rasulullah. Marriage never used to be a problem. This is something that's very recent that we see today. There are many that are not married, and they stay for a very long time not being married. Marriage was never an obstacle for members of society before, during the time of Rasulullah or after. As hard as life was during that time, marriage was not an obstacle. What has made it an obstacle? A main contributor to the delaying of marriage is the negative norms of society. The norms that we have created upon ourselves, the negative norms and cultures that we have added in our lifestyle, and we have made them very important in our lifestyle. These are the norms that have made marriage so difficult today. Today, when someone wants to get married, what do they have to do? They have to plan a wedding. But the wedding is not something easy. Only the dresses and the gown and the shoes, that's a headache by itself. Let alone feeding the people that come, and what kind of food, how many types of food, where's the hall going to be, what kind of music are we going to be playing, where are we going to bring the DJ from. We are the ones who are adding these problems. It's the cultures that have added the problems to the marriage. Today, marriage, just the wedding part of the marriage is a major headache. Many people, they say, I don't want to get married because I'm afraid of that big step that I have to take, the wedding. The first step, that not only it's a headache, and you will spend half of the money that you've saved up to start off a new life with your spouse, you have to spend it all on one night. Today, the average wedding here in the United States costs $30,000. So when someone has to go and throw that much money away, of course they're going to say, no, I'm not going to get married right now. They're going to delay it because of the norms of society, the negative norms. And another reason that people are delaying the marriage and weddings right now is because marriage today is not seen as a necessity. Marriage today, it's a leisure. It's not a necessity to get married like it was before. Before, people used to get married for survival. People used to get married in order to survive. Today, they're surviving just normally without getting married. And they say that maybe it's worse for me if I get married. Because of the marriages today, because of the divorce rate today, people, they probably say, if I really want to look at it, if I really want to calculate it, I see that it's better for me if I don't get married. This is how people perceive marriage. But how does the religion of Islam perceive marriage? The religion of Islam, it tells us that marriage remains a necessity for society. Marriage remains important. Cultures change. Societies change. The time changes. We're in the 21st century. Yes, the religion of Islam says marriage is still important for overall society. Maybe an individual would say it's not important for me right now, but the religion of Islam says for the overall society, marriage is a necessity. And marriage is important. And marriage is crucial for society as a whole. And the rules of Islam, sometimes there are rules for a specific person, and sometimes there are rules for all of society. For example, the rule of hijab. It's important at an individual level, and at the level of a society, it's also very important. So marriage is important at the two levels, the individual level and at the greater level, and that is society. And this is why we have rules in the religion of Islam. And this is why any society has rules. Today, why is it not allowed to cross the red light? Because it will cause traffic. It might cause an accident. Now someone might tell the police officer, let me cross the red light in the middle of the night when no one's watching. The police officer will still give you a ticket. Why? Because these are rules of society. The religion of Islam also has rules that we must abide by, rules that we must follow. No one can come and say, let me break this rule here and there. Someone might say, if I drink one little teaspoon of alcohol, I won't get drunk. So allow me to drink that. The religion of Islam says, no, there are rules in society. There's a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chose for us. And Allah, He is the Alim, He is the Hakim. He knows what is best for us. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, He knows what's best for us. Thus, Rasulullah has chose this path for us, and He tells us how to live our life. When it comes to marriage, the fiqh ruling, the Islamic ruling in jurisprudence, it tells us that marriage originally by itself is mustahab. It's a recommended act. However, this marriage, it can become wajib. The rules change in Islam. Mustahab might become wajib. Wajib might become haram. Marriage, sometimes it could be haram. For example, for someone who she already has a husband, it's haram for her to get married again. The rules change. Originally, the rule of marriage is mustahab. It's recommended. But it becomes wajib. When does it become wajib? It becomes wajib when I start sinning and I start disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of that desire that I have. That is when the rule changes. That is when the rule changes. And rules change. Before adhan, prayer is not wajib. As soon as the muadhin says Allahu Akbar, prayer has become wajib upon me. Rules change all the time in the religion of Islam. So with marriage, when someone begins sinning and disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of that desire, and they have chosen not to get married, that time marriage has become wajib upon them. So this is the fiqh ruling regarding marriage. And this is why the religion of Islam perceives marriage as a sanctuary. This is why the religion of Islam sees marriage as a safe haven for society and for the members of society. Of course, if it is practiced correctly. If it is practiced the way Rasulullah told us to practice it. If it is practiced the way the Quran tells us how to practice it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he says, مَا بُنِيَ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ بِنَاءٌ أَحَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنَ التَّزْوِيجِ. There is no foundation, there is no structure built in the religion of Islam more beloved to Allah than the foundation and the structure of marriage. Marriage is a building. It's building a foundation, building a structure. And that is the holiest institution in the religion of Islam. Of course, when it is practiced correctly. Because marriage, it satisfies all of our desires. Marriage satisfies all of our basic needs. We have 5 basic needs. One of the needs is a physical need. Another need is a social need. A third need that we all have is an emotional need. A fourth need is a financial need. And a fifth need is a spiritual need that we all have. And we see that the religion of Islam satisfies all of these basic necessities that we all need. In order to live a happy life, we have to satisfy all of these needs in order to live a happy life. And these are our basic human rights, our basic human needs that we all are in need of. And marriage is a solution to all of these needs. You go and you look at it at the physical level. Marriage is a solution to the physical desires that we have. And the religion of Islam says there is no shame when it comes to this desire that we all have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us with desires. Just like when I'm hungry, I have a desire to eat. And my body, my brain begins sending me signals. It sends signals to my stomach. And my stomach begins growling, telling me I'm hungry. There's also other types of desires. When you're sleepy, you start falling asleep. Your eyes begin to shut. Also, the physical desire, when the body is ready, it will send a signal to the individual. It will send a signal that the body is functioning, the body is ready, and the needs must be met. The needs should be met. This is something very normal in the religion of Islam. And this is not something that we should turn away from like other religions. You see some other religions, they come and they turn their face, they frown at marriage, and it causes problems for them. It causes problems until today. They have to deal with these problems. The religion of Islam says, no, we will embrace this idea. We will embrace this desire and we will deal with it in an ideal way. We will bring a solution in a natural, in an ideal way. And the religion of Islam has brought us an ideal solution, and that is marriage. Marriage is a solution to the physical desires that we all have. And marriage, it is a recommended act. And celibacy is not recommended except before marriage. It is recommended and it's wajib. So marriage satisfies all of the desires that we have. And no one can come and say that I'm a mu'min, I'm a believer, I'm able to control this desire. Can someone say, I'm a mu'min, I'm not going to eat forever? Can someone say, I'm a believer, I'm not going to drink forever? No. There were groups of Muslims, some of the companions of Rasulullah, they came to him, and some of these companions, they used to not get married. Some of them used to fast every single day out of the year. Some used to spend the whole night worshipping and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they gathered together and they say, one says, I do this. The other, he says, this is what I do. The third says, this is what I do. And within themselves, they say, we are better worshippers than Rasulullah. This is what they actually said. And this is what they were actually believing. Imagine someone who believes that they are worshipping better than Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa. So they came to Rasulullah and they told him, one tells him, I stay up the whole night praying and worshipping. Another tells him, I fast every single day out of the year. A third tells him, I don't want to get married and I want to control myself. So Rasulullah, he tells them, you do all of this, وَلَكِنْ أَنَا أَعْبَدْ مِنْكُمْ. You do all of this, but I am more of a worshipper to Allah than you, all of you. They tell him, how so? He says, I sleep some hours of the night and I pray some hours of the night. I fast some days out of the year and I break my fast some days out of the year. And I get married, and then he says, الزواج سنتي فمن ترك سنتي فليس مني. Marriage is my sunnah. Marriage is the sunnah of Rasulullah. It's the tradition of Rasulullah, and whoever leaves my sunnah is not from me. So the religion of Islam, one thing about the religion of Islam, it teaches us to live a moderate lifestyle. The religion of Islam does not tell me to live an extreme lifestyle, seclude myself away from society, spend the whole night worshipping, and then when it comes to the day, when I have to work, when I have to feed my family, I'm sleeping. Or fast every day and not socialize and not deal, not eat with people. It's mustahab to eat with people sometimes. This is a recommendation. The religion of Islam wants us to live a moderate lifestyle. So Rasulullah, he says, الزواج sunnati. Marriage is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. One day a woman, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he heard of a woman. They told him there's a noble woman. She has chosen not to get married. She says that this is better for a woman. This is more respectful for a woman if she does not get married. So Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he tells his companions, he says, if marriage was better for the nobility and the chastity of a woman, then my grandmother Fatima al-Zahra would not have gotten married. This is what the religion of Islam teaches us. And it's satisfying one of the most important desires, one of the most important needs that we have, and that is the physical need that we all have. And when someone ignores this need, when someone ignores the needs of the body, any need, whether it's the emotional, whether it's the physical, whether it's the spiritual, there will be problems in that person's life. Any need. This is why we have to try to satisfy all of the needs that we have, that we are in need of. And if someone ignores them, there will be problems. What are the problems of ignoring the physical need that we have? The problems we see in society today. We see the things that are embarrassing to even say on this minbar. In this society, because a big portion of the society has chosen to opt out of the opportunity of marriage. And they have delayed marriage. And there are many problems arising day after day that it's better for us to not even mention. So this is the first need that we all have. The second need is the social need. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us as social beings. We are in need of dealing with other people. We are in need of socializing with other people. You see, when someone, they want to punish him in prison, they put him in solitary confinement. Why? Because this is a type of punishment. When you put someone all alone, someone not allowing him to interact, not allowing her to interact with people, this is a type of suffering. This is a type of adab, a type of punishment. We all have a need to socialize, and this is how we survive in society. This is how we survive in this life and in the afterlife. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, استكثروا من الأخلاء فإنهم ينفعونكم في الدنيا والآخرة. The Imam, he says, try to have as much friends as possible. Try to socialize as much as you can, of course with good friends, not any type of friend. There are recommendations and rules when it comes to the friend. But he says, استكثروا من الأخلاء فإنهم ينفعونكم. They will help you in this life and in the afterlife. Socializing, having good socialization, positive socialization will be even good for the afterlife. Don't think that this is only something for this life. Make friends, socialize. This is what the religion of Islam wants from us. The religion of Islam, once again, I say this, the religion of Islam wants us to live a moderate lifestyle. Why do we see in the religion of Islam many of the acts of worship, you can do it alone or you can do it in a congregation. And if you do it in congregation, the thawab is many times more. It's multiplied. One is the jama'ah prayer. Everyone has the option to pray alone. But the reward is multiplied hundreds of times more if you gather and you pray with other people. Even if you are just two people, you lead. One is the imam and the other follows. The reward will be multiplied. Because the religion of Islam wants us to socialize. Look at the Hajj. It's all socializing. It's all dealing with other people. Dealing with other Muslims. Seeing other people from different nations. This is what the religion of Islam wants from us. And marriage is also a type of socializing. Marriage is a type of dealing with other people. And this will satisfy the needs of the individual. We see that a married couple, a married person is happier. This is what studies show. A married person is happier than a non-married person. Now I know some of you are thinking, no, I'm not happy with the wife or the husband that I have. But overall, marriage, it brings more happiness. And this is what studies show. A married person is better off socially. The social ranking in society is higher for a person who is married. People tend to trust a person who is married more than a person who is not married. You want to take your kids to a school, you trust that if the teacher is married, you will trust giving your children and letting your child spend time with this person. This is something normal. Because people, they trust a married individual. And this person has a higher status in society. This is the social ranking. The third need that we all have is the emotional need. This need also must be satisfied. We should not ignore our emotional needs. Our emotional needs must be satisfied and must be met. The need to love, the need to be loved. This is something that we all have. The self-esteem. Today, why is there such a high suicide rate in this country? Because of these emotional needs, they're not met. The emotional needs, the need to be loved, the need of self-actualization, the self-esteem, the confidence, the sense of security. Marriage, it comes and it satisfies all of these. It brings a solution to all of these problems. A sense of belonging. Every single one of us wants to feel belong, that we belong somewhere. Marriage, it satisfies this. Marriage brings a solution to this. And this is what Allah says in the Quran. هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنْ. Allah says, your wives or your spouses, this is for the man and for the woman. Your spouses, they are clothes, libas. They are clothes for you and you are clothes for them. What does this mean? What do the clothes do for us? One, clothes is a type of beauty on a person. When they wear it, they will look better. Second, the clothes, they bring warmth to a person. They bring protection to a person. It protects you from the heat. It protects you from the cold. And finally, clothes, they also cover our faults. They cover our problems. This is what marriage is supposed to be in Islam. Marriage is supposed to be like the clothes, a form of protection, something that brings security, something that covers the faults of the individual. When you have a wife, when you have a husband, this is how they should deal with one another. As if they are close with one another. They protect one another. They help one another. And this is how we see the marriage of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima al-Zahra alayhim salam was. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says about Fatima al-Zahra, he says, لَقَدْ كُنْتُ أَنظُرْ إِلَيْهَا فَتَنْكَشُفُ عَنِّي الْهُمُومُ وَالْأَحْزَانِ. He says, when I used to just look at her, just as I look at her face, all of my problems would go away. All of my sadness would go away. As soon as I look at the face of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. This is how Fatima was for Amir al-Mu'mineen. A form of protection. Something that brings comfort. This is what marriage is supposed to be today. This is the marriage according to the Sunnah of Rasulullah. This is the marriage according to the Quran. This is how an ideal marriage is supposed to be. Another need that we all have is the financial need. Now someone might come and they say, I'm not going to get married because marriage, it will make me poor. I don't have the money to get married. This is our mentality. This is how we think. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us something completely different. Rasulullah says something completely different. The Quran teaches us that with marriage, financial blessings will come upon you. Allah will bless you financially. And Allah mentions this in the Quran. Allah says in the Quran, وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ إِنْ يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاء. If they are faqir, يُغْنِهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. Allah will make them rich from His blessings. Allah says this in the Quran. Allah says, get your children, get your family members, the ones who are in need of marriage, help them, support them get married. Don't come and say they don't have money right now. Don't come and say they cannot survive on their own right now. In yakunu fuqara, if they are poor, yughnihum Allahu min fadlih. Allah will make them rich. One day a man, A young man, he came to Rasulullah and he was complaining of poverty to Rasulullah. He was telling Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, I'm not well off financially. Help me. Teach me something. Rasulullah asked him, are you married? There were two questions that Rasulullah used to always ask someone. One is, do you have a job? If the person did not have a job, Rasulullah would help this person find a job. This is how the adults are supposed to help the younger ones. Help them, give them a job. This is the akhlaq of Islam. And second, do you have a wife? Are you married? The man, he tells Rasulullah, no, I'm not married. Rasulullah told him, go and get married and Allah will make you rich. The man was surprised. He says, I'm telling you I'm poor and you're telling me to go ahead and get married? Rasulullah tells him, yes, because this is what Allah says in the Quran. إِن يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاء يُغْنِهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. If they are poor, Allah will make them rich because of marriage. So go and get married and Allah will make you rich. Allah will not allow you to sleep hungry. You will be able to survive. And we have all seen this. Today, have you seen a person who has gotten married and became poor because of their marriage? We're not talking about bad credit or this person did not know how to spend his money. That's something else. That's a different reason. But because of marriage, have you seen someone become poor? No. But we've seen people become billionaires and millionaires once they get married. So this is a promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Rasulullah, he says, من ترك التزويج مخافة العيلة فَقَدْ سَاءَ ظَنُّهُ بِاللَّهِ. The one who leaves marriage and delays marriage because he is afraid that he will not be able to provide for his family, this person, سَاءَ ظَنُّهُ بِاللَّهِ. He has bad doubts in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This person's faith in Allah is not as strong as it's supposed to be. Because Allah says, if they are poor, Allah will make them rich. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who do I believe gives rizq? Am I the one who brings the rizq? Or the rizq comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What does my faith tell me? The rizq comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينَ. Rizq and financial blessings, they come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now sometimes someone might not become rich. This is not something that will happen, but maybe the person will not become poor. The person will not be in need. The person will not be in poverty once they get married. We're not saying that everyone will become a millionaire once they get married. No, but the person will not be in need, financial need of other people. Allah will bring barakah. There will be blessing in the money that Allah gives this person. And we have seen this. Sometimes you see someone who has a lot of money, but their money has no barakah at all. Their money has no blessings at all. Every day you see something happens to this person. Every day you see something happens and this person is just losing his money left and right. They're making money, but they're losing it as well. And there's another type of person. You see that they don't have too much, but there's blessings in that money. That money, the dollar buys more for that money. And we have seen this. This is something that we have seen. So marriage, it satisfies the financial need. It's a solution to the financial need that we have. How so? Because once a person is married, this person, Allah will give him blessing. Allah will bless their money, and this person will have to go and work. When you're married, when you know you're going to get married, you're going to force yourself to get out of the bed and go and work. But when you're not married, you say, no, I have enough to eat. When a person is married, so it's logical, it makes sense. When a person is married, they're going to force themselves to go and work. Whatever it takes, they're going to force themselves to bring money to the house and bring food to the house. So maybe this is the answer to this, from a logical perspective. Spiritually, marriage satisfies our spiritual needs. How so? Marriage is even a solution to getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Someone could say, how does this happen? I go and I get married and I get closer to Allah? Yes, Allah says, and there are many chapters and many narrations from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says the prayer of a married person is worth 70 times more than the prayer of a person who is not married. This is what Rasulullah says. In another hadith, Rasulullah says a married person who's sleeping and cuddling with his wife is better than someone who is worshipping all night and he is not married. The married person, the sleep of the married person is worth more than the worshipper, the abid who is not married. Why? Because marriage satisfies all of the desires. Marriage satisfies all of our needs. But ibadah only satisfies one need, and that is the spiritual need. But marriage, it satisfies all of the needs that we have. So this is more important. A married person, their mindset is straight. Their thinking is better. So this is why marriage is very important in the religion of Islam. Of course, all of these things that I mentioned, they are talking about the ideal marriage. The marriage that follows the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. The marriage that follows the Quran, the teachings of the Quran and the teachings of Islam. However, today, the marriages that we see, or many of the marriages that we see, are far from ideal. They are far from perfect, and we see many problems are arising. And this is why we see the divorce rate is very high in this society. So in order to have a healthy marriage, in order to have a sound marriage, there are a few things that we have to do. When you want to get married, and inshallah in 2 days I will be talking about the family. Today we're talking about the singles who want to get married and the importance of marriage. When you want to get married, there are a few things that you have to do. One is that you have to put your mindset into getting married. You see many people, they are not ready to get married. Maybe physically they're ready, but psychologically they're not ready to get married. Emotionally they're not ready to get married. Their mindset and their heart is not ready to get married. Just the physical part is ready to get married. And you see a person who just goes into a marriage like this, of course, we're not going to be surprised when we see the marriage end very quickly, like what we see today, within weeks or months. When you go into a marriage, you have to prepare yourself. You have to get yourself ready to go in that marriage. You have to prepare yourself. But today we see many people, the day before he has his groove on and he's partying left and right. Every weekend he's out. And same with the sisters. And then, yes, it's time for me to get married and I want to move on. Well, guess what? That marriage is not going to be a happy marriage for you. That marriage is not going to be a marriage that satisfies your desires. Why? Because the whole time before, you were satisfying your desires with X and B and all these others. How are you going to satisfy? How are you going to satisfy your desires with one person now? How are you going to be content with one person now? And this is why we see many, they're not satisfied. They're not happy. Marriage becomes boring for them. Marriage becomes very dull for them. But the Quran teaches us that marriage means settling down. You have to settle down. And before you settle down, you have to get yourself ready for settling down. You have to get yourself physically, emotionally, psychologically ready to settle down. You can't be partying around and then you come and you say, okay, now I want to settle down. Allah says in the Quran, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, from the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's from the signs of Allah that Allah has created spouses for you. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Allah, out of His signs, He created for you spouses. He created for you spouses. This is the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah created spouses for one another. And you see that Allah has done this with all of His creation. Starting from a cell, starting from an atom, there's the proton and the neutron. They're opposites, but they attract. And going up and larger in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something that Allah has created. This is the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that you find sukoon. Marriage is supposed to be sukoon. Marriage is supposed to calm you down. A person is supposed to settle down once they get married. So this is what marriage does. And I will go very quickly because I didn't realize the time has gone by so fast. I don't know, maybe you guys are getting bored, but this is very fast for me. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And Brother Sadiq is looking at me, so there are conditions for marriage. The first is that you have to get yourself emotionally ready, and the second is the partner that you are choosing. The partner that you are choosing, it's very important to choose someone who will fit with you, someone who is compatible with you. This is a very important need when it comes to marriage. And I will go through these. What are the conditions for a man? This is, the sisters should have this down. Rasulullah says, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ خُلُقَهُ وَدِينَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. If a person comes and you are satisfied with his akhlaq, this is the first thing that Rasulullah mentions. And second, his faith. If the person has good akhlaq and good faith, then allow him to marry your daughter. Rasulullah is speaking to the fathers. فَزَوِّجُوهُ. And then Rasulullah says, وَلَوْ كَانَ فَقِيرًا. Even if he is poor, even if this person is poor, give him. Allow him to get married. Then he says, وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. If you do not do so, there will be a great fitna in the land, and great fasad and corruption and problems will arise. Because you refuse to marry a person. You refuse to give your daughter to a person, a mu'min. Where's this mu'min going to go? Where should this believer go? If he sees that when he comes and he proposes to the mu'minah, to the believer girl, and her father is rejecting, her family is rejecting, do you blame him when he goes out to the non-believers? This is why Rasulullah says, takun fitna. There will be a great fitna and great fasad. And today we see many practicing Muslims. Muslims that are religious, you see them all the time at the masjid, they're praying, they're doing dua, they're doing ziyarat. They do everything, they follow the book. But once a person who's not from their town, who's not from their culture, who's not from their community, he comes and he proposes to their daughter, suddenly you see this person change 180 degrees. No, this person's from a different race. How can he marry me? We speak different languages. Many things, you see this person suddenly change and brings up many excuses. Rasulullah tells us, if the akhlaq and the faith are there, marry. Allow this person to get married. Rasulullah does not say from a different tribe, different color, different person and different culture. Rasulullah just says akhlaq and faith. However, it's these social norms in society that are delaying the marriage. And I mentioned at the beginning of the speech, it's our norms and our cultures that have delayed the marriage. And the religion of Islam has come to remove these norms. And the religion of Islam has come to remove these negative norms that we have placed upon ourselves. He speaks about Rasulullah. Allah says about Rasulullah, وَيَضَعُ عَنْهُمْ إِصْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالِ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. Rasulullah was sent to remove the burdens away from the people. Rasulullah was sent to make life easier. We have made burdens upon ourselves. Cultural norms, social norms, negative norms. We have made them upon ourselves and we have to live by them, or else everything will go bad. Rasulullah, one of the things he did was that he removed the negative norms from the people. One day Rasulullah, he saw a person, one of his companions by the name of Juwaybir. Juwaybir, the hadith, the narration says that Juwaybir was not so good looking. and he was poor. He was living in the masjid of Rasulullah. There was a section where the Muslims were sleeping. And he had nothing. One day Rasulullah, he tells him, "Oh Juwaybir, are you married?" Juwaybir says, "No, I'm not married." And he was not very good looking. No one was interested in him. Rasulullah tells him, "Go to the tribe leader of the Ansar, Ziyad ibn Lubayd, and tell him Rasulullah has sent me and he has told me to marry your daughter." The man, he said, "You want me to go and tell that tribe leader that Rasulullah has sent?" He was surprised. He goes because Rasulullah tells him to do it. He goes, and the Arabs, they used to have a diwan. There's a big tent they're sitting in, or a big room they're sitting in. Suddenly the man, the tribe leader, he sees Juwaybir coming. He tells him, "Do you want food?" He thinks he's a guest. He's coming. Tells him, "What do you want?" And there are people that are sitting around there. And these were the rich people in Medina. He tells him, "Rasulullah sent me, and he says, marry your daughter to Juwaybir." And he had a very beautiful daughter. So the man, he was shocked. He says, "Is this really what Rasulullah says?" Then he tells him, "But you are not from the same level as us. Go to Rasulullah and tell him this." Juwaybir started walking away. The daughter, Al-Dhalfa, she was the one who told her father, "Rasulullah said this. Why did you send this person back?" So he says, "Yes, this is not a good idea for me to reject Rasulullah." He told Juwaybir, "You wait here and I will go to Rasulullah." He goes and he tells Rasulullah. Rasulullah tells him, "Yes, this is what I told him to tell you." He tells him, "But he's not from the same class as me." Rasulullah tells him, "But he is a mu'min. He's a believer. He's a Muslim. And the iman, this is what makes you in the same class. The faith is what makes you at the same class. It's not the money that you have. It's not the wealth. It's not the status of living. It's the iman that we have." This is why Allah says, "إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ أُخْوَةً." The brothers, the faithful, they are brothers to one another. Whether they're black or they're white or they're yellow or any other skin. The brothers, the faithful, they are brothers to one another. So this is the first point, akhlaq and iman. The second thing, a few individuals that Rasulullah has forbid the daughters and the women to marry. Rasulullah, he says, "Man zawwaja karimatahu min sharib khamr faqad qadaha ila zina." He who marries his daughter to someone who drinks alcohol, an alcoholic, then this person, it's as if he has brought his daughter to commit zina, to commit adultery. It's haram to give your daughter to someone who drinks. Second, "Man zawwaja karimatahu min fasiq nazalat alayhi kullu yawm alf la'na." He who marries his daughter to a fasiq, a person who breaks and violates the rules of Allah, every day, Rasulullah says, 1,000 la'nas will come upon this person. He who gives his daughter to a fasiq. These are the conditions, some of the conditions for the husband. Now the conditions for the wife, Rasulullah, he says, خَيْرُ نِسَائِكُمْ الْوَلُودَ الْوَدُودِ. The best of your women are the ones who are childbearing and ones who are loving. Wadud. What does wadud mean? Wadud is from the word of mawaddah. Wadud means someone who shows her love to her husband. Sometimes love, it could be hidden. And sometimes love is through mawaddah. Mawaddah means show your love. And this is why Allah tells us, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Show your love to the Ahlul Bayt. Attend these type of majalis. This is a way of showing your love. So one of the qualities of a good wife is one who shows her love to the husband. Not only one who has love and hides it and never reveals it. So showing the love, and then Rasulullah continues. He says, Al-mutabarrijah anda zawjiha. One who shows her beauty to her husband. Al-hasan anda ghayrih. But hides her beauty in front of others, in front of the strangers. التي تسره إذا نظر إليها. The one that makes her husband happy when he looks at her, like Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam. وتحفظه إذا غاب عنها في نفسها ومالها. And she protects him when he's gone through herself and through his money, through his wealth. She protects it. In another hadith, Rasulullah, he says, إِيَّاكُمْ وَخَضْرَاءِ الدِّمَنِ. Stay away from the beauty, from the green, the grass that grows on the trash. That grows on, there are hills that are covered with trash. They come and they put grass over it. He says, stay away from the grass that grows on the dump. The Muslims, they asked Rasulullah, what is this? He says, the beautiful woman that does not have strong roots. The beautiful woman that you don't know where she came from. You don't know the roots of her family. You don't know her iman. You don't know her faith. You don't know what kind of a person she is. Just because she's beautiful, you go and you marry her. Rasulullah, he says, stay away from this type of person. These are the conditions of marriage. These are the rules of marriage, and this is how you live a successful marriage. This is how you live a happy marriage according to the sunnah of Rasulullah and the Quran. In a hadith, Rasulullah, he says, من سعادة الرجل أن تكون له زوجة تطيعه تعينه على طاعة الله. From a lucky person, a lucky man is one who has a wife that helps him and supports him in obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where they cooperate with one another in what? In getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today, we remember the son of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan, who scholars and historians, they say Imam al-Qasim, he was at the age of marriage. He was at the age of marriage, but he did not get married. He chose to live and give up his life for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Al-Qasim was an orphan. He had lost his father at a young age, and he grew up under the guidance, under the leadership of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, under the custody of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. On the night, so he saw Imam al-Hussein as a father to him. On the night of Ashura, Imam al-Hussein, he told all of his companions to leave. He tells them, right now it's in the darkness, go ahead and escape. He even tells his family, he even tells his Ahl al-Bayt to go. But they did not leave. He tells them, whoever stays with me will be killed tomorrow. It is said that Al-Qasim, he came to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and he tells him, Ya Aba Abdullah, will I also be killed tomorrow? Will I also die tomorrow? He wants Imam al-Hussein to say, yes, you will also be killed, because he wants to consider himself with the adults. Imam al-Hussein, he wanted to test his iman, to see what kind of a person this Qasim is. He tells him, Ya bunay, kayfa tajidul maut? How do you see death? How do you perceive death? He tells him, Ya Aba Abdullah, wallah fi nusratika ahla min al-asal. In helping you and supporting you, death is sweeter than honey. This is what he tells Imam al-Hussein. So Imam al-Hussein, he tells him, yes, you will also be killed tomorrow. On the day of Ashura, after the companions were killed, the Ahl al-Bayt, they began to go one after the other. Then Al-Qasim, he came to Imam al-Hussein. He tells him, oh my dear uncle, please give me permission to go and fight. Please give me permission to defend you. Imam al-Hussein, he looked at him. He tells him, Ya Qasim, anta al-wadi'atu min akhi. Oh Qasim, you are the last reminder of my brother Imam al-Hasan. How can I see you go? Al-Qasim, he began insisting and begging Imam al-Hussein to go. Then Imam al-Hussein, he says, bring me the imamah of my brother Imam al-Hassan. Bring me the armor of al-Hassan. Bring me the sword of Imam al-Hassan. Imam al-Hussein, he placed the imamah of his brother Imam al-Hassan on the head of Qasim. He placed the armor on his body and he gave him the sword. Hamid ibn Muslim, one of the narrators who was on the side of Umar ibn Sa'd, he says, we saw a young boy come out with his face shining like the moon. His face, he was so beautiful. He says, we saw him and Imam al-Hussein, they were hugging each other until they both fell on the ground. They both fell from their crying. Imam al-Hussein, he tells Qasim, oh Qasim, go and say your farewell to your mother. Go and say your farewell to the women, to the children. Qasim, he goes in the tent. The children, they're holding on to him. The women, they hold on to him. They're telling him, Ya Qasim, irham ghurbatana. Oh Qasim, we will be alone after you. لازم ترجع بسكي أنا وعمته بحلقة شمة ومن الخيم مذهولة طلعت تنادي أمه يا ابني يا جاسم هالوقت حالك لعمك شمة. His mother, his aunts, they came and they supported him. His mother tells him, go Qasim, defend your uncle Imam al-Hussein. Qasim, he goes out carrying the sword, walking like the moon towards the a'da, towards the enemies. He began calling out, إن تنكروني فأنا نجل الحسن سبط النبي المصطفى والمؤتمن هذا حسين كالأسير المرتهن بين أناس لاصقوا صوب المزن. If you don't know me, I am Qasim, the son of Imam al-Hassan, the grandson of Rasulullah. This is my uncle Hussein, as if he's asir, he's a prisoner in between you. He kept going, he kept fighting courageously. Hamid ibn Muslim says he was fighting so bravely until one of the straps of his sandals broke. Qasim went down to fix his sandals. Suddenly an enemy, he dealt a blow on the head of Qasim. Wa Sayyidah wa Qasimah. Qasim fell on the ground. Imam al-Hussein came rushing to him. He saw him that he had died at that moment. He says, يعز على عمك أن تدعوه فلا يجيبك أو يجيبك فلا يعينك بعدا لقوم قتلوك خصمهم يوم القيامة جدك وأبوك. He does a dua against them, the ones who killed al-Qasim. The hadith says that Imam al-Hussein carried Qasim. However, the feet of Qasim, they were dragging on the ground while Imam al-Hussein was carrying him. What does this mean? This means that Imam al-Hussein could not stand straight. His back was broken because Qasim had died. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.